recorded material.
The voice of Husker Nation is on the air. This is Hail Varsity Radio. Insight, opinion, expertise, along with the biggest names talking Nebraska sports. Join in with the show at 402-489-1240 or 1-800-825-5865. Now, here are your hosts, Chris Schmidt and Elijah Herbal.
Great to have you in on a Monday. It's Hail Varsity. Chris Schmidt, Justice Rhodey, and you. 489-1240 to get in. 489-1240. 800-825-5865. Get our starting five shout-outs. Will, Super Bowl 59 came and went, and it was that old lead balloon. And I don't care who you're cheering for, cheering against. It was just a brutal game. And you just aren't used to seeing that happen to the Kansas City Chiefs. We'll talk about it. On the other hand, if you're a Philly fan or anti-Chief, you loved last night. We'll get there. Nebraska basketball now has 4 in a row. We'll hear from Fred Hoiberg and some of his comments from the win yesterday afternoon, a gritty, gutty performance that is really going to be your standard for Big Ten basketball. Man, Ohio State was talented. They were physical. They were full of better players. They just were. Nebraska was the better team. Nebraska made winning plays down the stretch. Stop me if you've heard that before at PBA. But Nebraska has been able to shake off that midseason swoon and may be better for it moving forward. I haven't decided yet or not if this team is built to last, but I think they're built to compete for sure, as that get old, stay old mantra is paying off right now after they had to gotta kick themselves in the butt after that losing streak, get back to that winning formula. So we'll hear from and talk about Nebraska basketball here coming up. Plenty of recruiting thoughts and some Husker football outlook to get into with Tim Verghese from Inside Nebraska Rivals.com. Tim going to join us in 15 minutes in hour 2. Mr. Blackshirt himself, Charlie McBride, a Monday with Charlie. I can see Uncle Charlie in his cabin with a big old turkey leg in one hand and a smile and a remote in the other, watching that defensive line feast and feast and feast on a quarterback. So we'll get Uncle Charlie's take on the Super Bowl and some Husker football thoughts. And then Jay Moore with us. Jay will wind down hour 2 with us. Blackshirt Husker NFLer Jay Moore with Big Red Wrap-Up. Can email Chris@HailVarsity.com. Just a side note, want to send you over to the Average Joe Sports Show YouTube channel. Check that out. We had an awesome sit-down yesterday morning with our Sunday live pod with Rocco Spindler. Rocco joined us for a few minutes. Rocco showed off his new baby bulldog, English bulldog puppy, and he was in full vintage Nebraska gear. So our chat with Rocco yesterday on the Average Joe, so check that out. A lot to get to. Justice, you were on TV more than a handful of times yesterday, front and center in the student section. I knew it was you. I saw the mop top glowing red. And are you the guy that folks throw stuff at the movie theater because you're 18 feet tall? And if you sit in front of somebody, you are blocking the view. How does the student section treat you when you sit so close to you? Were front row.
I mean, they love us because we really get into it. You know, we like to say we bring the energy.
I'm sure you are loved, but you are also tall, and not everyone's 17 feet tall.
But it's nice that it slants up, and so like progressively it gets taller and taller. So the height differential, eventually, the further you go up, just doesn't make a difference. You know, so that's the nice part when you know with a sloped student section like the one we have at Pinnacle Bank.
Okay, so you're good.
Oh yeah, I'm good. I haven't gotten anything thrown at me yet.
Well, no, I mean, I wouldn't.
Although me and my buddy did get an
angry 7-foot ginger is not something I want to deal with.
Me and my buddy did get a talking to from the police officer yesterday.
For what?
So
who was the police? Was it B-Dub, Brian Warner?
I don't know, but it was a university police guy. And
Yeah. If it was B-Dub, he used to crush homers for the Salt Dogs.
Yeah, no, listen, this guy was jacked. It didn't matter.
Yeah, it was probably B-Dub.
Yeah, it probably was. So he's like, so my buddy just says something, right? And he says something, it's completely out of line. He said about Sean Stewart, and I'm like, dude, what are we doing? Like, look, we got to temper it. I told him he's got to temper it. He had a long night the evening before, and let's just say
it may not be fit to drive still.
Yeah, let's just say that long night turned into a longer morning. Should we say? They say you can't have a hangover if you never stop drinking. So he just kept on going, and he just keeps on going. And so he's getting after Sean Stewart, and I'm like, dude, I knew the minute it left his mouth. I'm like, dude. The police officer was just like, all right, cool. There's kids around, right? And so I was like, okay, officer, I got him. I'll get him calmed down. He's just he's not in the rightest of minds right now. Well, he pulls us over at the intermission. He's like, you two, come here. I'm like, what did I do? I'm like, I acknowledged you. And he's like, listen, I don't know who said it, but like, you can't just say that stuff with kids around. He's like, you can call him every name in the book. You can say he sucks at basketball. It doesn't matter. Just don't say that.
What was said?
Not fit for airwaves, but it had to do with so him.
We'll leave it to the imagination.
It's another way of saying that Sean Stewart was not having a very good day on the basketball court.
Right.
We'll just say that. So yeah, it was that, and I was like, my buddies were like, yeah, you're just guilty by association, dude. Sorry. I'm like, have the best. Just doing his job.
He communicated with you.
Yep.
Don't hang. If it was coach or officer, not coach, if it was Officer Warner, do not pitch him inside. Do not hang 1-on-3 and 2. He will take you yards still.
I mean, the guy's arms were like the size of my head, so
Yeah.
I wasn't.
Was he kind of like fire hydrant-y?
Yeah. Nice guy, but it was good. Just got after it, had a nice long chat. We just made sure our business was handled, and then we just went on about it. Just had to make sure that the kids were having an enjoyable experience.
Well, there we go. We'll dive into our starting five here. Jeff Snitley, part of the Boulder Peace Treaty in first. NASCAR Eric is here. Mike from Cali says, way to go, Nebraska basketball. Snitley seconds that with the Fighting Freds. Thursday will be tough without Burke. Yes, we will get into that. Arlo is here. Yeah, Arlo, wrong Jay, but thank you. Larry is here. Uncle Larry says, I bought and read John Cook and Brandon Vogel's Dream Like a Champion. Good work, Uncle Larry. Uncle Larry highly recommends it. Tuck says, I'm tuning in to hear an expert analysis on the halftime show. Tuck, don't hold your breath. Well, that's more of a Justice / Elijah Lane than Old Man Schmidt. I could bring Junior on, and he could kind of lay it out there. I don't have any. I don't have any of the halftime in my playlist. I just don't.
I understand.
Ken checks in. Also, losing Burke is tough. I'll say this: like Burke is a guy that a lot of the fan base has spent this season going, what the hell about? And now he's had a couple of good games, good game against Washington, kind of dusted off against Oregon, has righted himself, has been challenged by the coaching staff, has not started some games and had his best game efficiency-wise, and he's accepted his role of rebounding, and then he's an offensive threat for sure. He's probably their fourth best offensive option behind Sejan, Juan, and Bryce. But sometimes Berke doesn't take the smartest shots, but he's not afraid to take a big shot. So you want that. But when there's a turnover, it's just hard to not see Berke sprinting after the mistake. There's that element to it. If taking myself away from the media, if I'm a Nebraska fan, saying, but Berke's he's growing up. He's getting better as this season goes, and he's big. He's going to be needed, and you may not get him for Maryland with that ankle issue. So we'll spend some time on that. But other guys got to step up. Mia, I mean, dude, you're making NIL. You hit 3 free throws. God love you. I would have bet the farm. I would have bet the house 3 of them wouldn't have hit rim, let alone he makes them. And good for him. I mean, he had 2 big buckets that were big answers to tie the game.
Yeah, and I'll say this. I mean, we were in the student section, and it was like I immediately
You were surprised?
I looked up to the sky, and I said, God, I need a miracle. I said, I need a miracle.
You asked 3 times, didn't you?
I asked 3 times. I said, God, I need a miracle. And 3 times he delivered. The Lord is good. That's all I got to say. But, tremendous free throw shooting performance out of Braxton Mia.
It wasn't the work Mia's put in. It is Justice's prayers when Mia gets to the free throw
ask
line.
and ye shall receive. And Braxton Mia's ability came through.
Yep. Kobe is here. Good to have you. Kobe, you are right. 4 days till baseball. Captain is here. Good to have you, Captain. The Jets have left Aaron Rodgers at the terminal. Love that. Other Dave is here, and we'll get into some Super Bowl thoughts. Anonymous checks in as well. So I got to ask this question. When we look at the Chiefs and we look at the Eagles Super Bowl, and this is a glowing open sign, exit sign, special, whatever gets your attention as you're driving by. That could be a lot of things. I'm going to stick with the neon open sign, or the no vacancy if you're driving all night from Iowa City to Iowa City. What is going to win football from now until the end of time is building your squad around an offensive line and defensive line. Give me the medals for the most obvious statement and take post-Super Bowl on your Super Bowl Monday. But coaches, teams, players, offensive minds, owners, general managers, coaches go away from it for some reason. And it's easier said than done. But Philly has been strategic with a succession plan, as I try and spit that out. When Kelsey decided to retire at center, let's go get Cam Jurgens. Let's play him at guard. Let's groom him, and let's let him move in. It's been fantastic. Let's go look at a guy like Bond and Barkley. Barkley's a guy that, what kind of value do you want to spend and place on running backs that have a little bit of mileage? But Barkley was a good used car that was pretty injured, not career-ending, but dinged. A lot of nicks, right? A little body damage, so to speak. We're talking used car comparison here. But you get him, and you 1-2 punch that with the Hurts rushing ability, and then you make that play action / zone read game real. You saw his ability to throw it as a dual threat and slice up the Chiefs. But when your defensive line that has been deep forever and ever, and they're still deep, has 6 sacks, 2 picks, 1 fumble, 0 blitzes, to put it in Husker terms, it reminded me of what Nebraska did against Texas in the Big 12 championship game in 2009, where you got home with just 4. You didn't blitz because you didn't have to blitz. They couldn't do a damn thing to your defense in your base. You could drop 7, and Mahomes had to hold it when he did have a little bit of time. The dump off wasn't there. He was hurried early in that first half to Kelsey. You didn't get downfield because everybody was blanketed. And it was just an absolute nightmare. The Chiefs did what they had to do, was make sure Saquon didn't beat them and put it into the arms of and palm of Jalen Hurts, and he was ready to go. But line play is going to win. The Eagles' defensive line dominated. The O-line neutralized Chris Jones, who popped his neck after the tush push. 0 tackles for Chris Jones. Nobody had a good night defensively for the Chiefs, but it was more about the Chiefs' offensive line. So what is your response? What's your response if you're Patrick Mahomes? You're going to come back with a vengeance. What's your response if you're Clark Hunt and Andy Reid? You're going to spend money on the offensive line to fix it like you did after you got embarrassed by Sue and crew against Tampa Bay in your last Super Bowl loss, because that was your Achilles heel then as well. So the Chiefs will respond and probably have another shot at another title at some point. But you can't ask your all-world guard to go play left tackle and hope it works in the biggest game against the baddest defense, the deepest defense. And you got punished. You got punished on the big stage. You got blown out, and it wasn't even that close.
Yeah, and that was the thing is they had a clear offensive line game plan. They didn't want Jalen Carter to get any interior pressure, so they kept him off. 0 tackles for Jalen Carter. But then you just look at the depth that Philly had. Jordan Davis got a sack. Milton Williams with 2 sacks. Josh Sweat with 2.5. They were able to get pressure with 4 all night, and then allowed them to sit guys in coverage. Cooper DeJean, Reed Blankenship, Darius Slay. They were able to keep guys in coverage and able to keep Kansas City at bay and keep them away from these crossing routes and a lot of these mesh patterns that they seem to love. And when the run game tried to get going, it felt like they could stop the run with 4, maybe even 5 if they let Zach Bond drop into the box. But that was the thing, is they were able to be successful in spots that a lot of people didn't know if they would be successful. And so the Chiefs are going to have to take a deep, long look at this. And I think they come back with a vengeance next year, because that had to sting not getting 3 in a row.
Well, it had to sting, and then you just got physically
just dominated.
I mean, it wasn't even close. Captain says fly, Eagles fly. QB1 ace is in. Fast Eddie said it best. Money won is twice as sweet as money earned. Game Dog, you are right. The O-line was a disaster, and it's a absolute lesson. You got a Mahomes fan in your favorite current Husker quarterback. Those are lessons you got to learn moving forward. Tim Verghese on the way.
Noticing more dust, odors, or allergies? It could be time for duct cleaning from Bryant. Pure Air starts with cleaner air ducts. Pair with enhanced filtration and purifications options, and the difference is amazing. When the air you breathe is clean and fresh, your home smells fresher, and your family is healthier. Time for cleaner air in your home? Call Bryant for a free estimate. Bryant Air Conditioning, Heating, Electrical, and Plumbing. 467-1111. Bryant, whatever it takes.
If you're living with dry age-related macular degeneration or dry AMD, you may be at risk for developing geographic atrophy or GA. GA can be unpredictable and progress rapidly, leading to irreversible vision loss. Now there's something you can do to
slow it down, get it going slower.
Izervay is proven to slow GA progression.
Izervay gets GA going slower.
Izervay or avacincaptad pagel is a prescription eye injection used to treat GA. Don't take it if you have an infection or active swelling in or around your eye. Izervay can cause eye infection, retinal detachment, or increased risk of wet AMD. Izervay may temporarily increase eye pressure. Your vision may be impaired after an eye injection or exam. Don't delay. Ask your doctor about Izervay today.
Izervay gets GA going slower.
Visit Izervay.com. That's IZERVAY.com.
During tax season, your info travels lots of places you can't control.
W-2 arriving from payroll platform 3.
Everything criminals need to steal your identity is on your W-2.
Last call for accountant at home office, 1 minute.
LifeLock monitors hundreds of millions of data points per second.
Tax preparation data centers with service to IRS. All aboard.
If your identity is stolen, we'll fix it guaranteed, or your money back. Save up to 40% your first year with promo code NEWS. Visit LifeLock.com. Terms apply.
Are you tired of buying new shoes because of pain and discomfort in your ankles, knees, hips, feet, or lower back? Maybe you don't need new shoes. Maybe you need high-quality support in your shoes. That's where the Good Feet store can help you. Like Teresa.
I was in foot pain for 20 years, trying to give it relief, buying all these different insoles. I bought all these products, and not a single one worked. I really, truly needed to have relief in my feet. And the Good Feet arch supports were what gave me the relief I needed. I can wear these arch supports in all my shoes. Cowboy boots, running shoes, walking shoes, flat shoes, heels. It makes me so happy. If you ask my husband, he will crack up because there is no store I would rather go in than a shoe store.
Live the life you love. Come to the Good Feet store today. Visit the store at 27th and Pine Lake Road across from South Point.
And now,
back to Hail Varsity Radio.
Back with you, it's Hail Varsity. Chris Schmidt, Justice Rhodey. Tim Verghese is here. with Inside Nebraska, Rivals.com. Check out his good stuff on YouTube as well. Tim, how we doing? What did you do for the Super Bowl last night?
Hey, not too bad, man. Yeah, just kind of watched. Obviously, caught up with some friends and went over to watch. Game was a game, but we were pretty checked out by the second half.
Yeah.
All sorts of smelling salt needed. There's not enough Boulevard or bourbon in Kansas City, my friend, to medicate those Chiefs fans. But I was looking at your Twitter, and let's talk about pocket trauma. Is that not the coolest fantasy football team name soon to be used for the upcoming seasons?
Yeah, it's the perfect phrase for something I've been trying to describe for years. Like, I remember the first time I thought about outside, the environment around you is leading to the quarterback regressing. And I remember seeing it in real time with DJU at Clemson. And I remember the other weird example for me personally, just because I was a student here at the time and interning, was Adrian Martinez in Nebraska. I felt like year one, and prior to that ACL, the comfort we saw from him relative to what we saw down the line, it just continued to regress. And it's like, okay, well, it got to a point where eventually, okay, he's regressing because it's on him at that point, but he didn't have any trust in the line, didn't have any trust in the receivers, and it all broke down eventually. And I think this year, I think you can explain, some of the regression from Dylan Raiola in that losing streak, middle of the year, somewhat to pocket trauma, not necessarily on the offensive line, but when your wide receivers aren't separating, when your wide receivers can't get off press, when you can't properly read out the field because the coordinator is not giving you, a clean read of the play, and you're not getting any help from the run game, it's going to lead to things breaking down. So I think pocket trauma is the perfect way to just describe external factors ultimately weighing down on even an elite quarterback like Patrick Mahomes, like we saw last night.
There's so much crossover, right, with Mahomes and Dylan and Mahomes, and the common thread being the quarterback tutor, right, the trainer. And I'm interested to see Mahomes respond, but that's going to kind of be up to his owner and what they do on the offensive line. They'll respond similarly to when they got it handed to them by the Tampa defensive line. I think Kansas City's still got some more giddy up in them, but there were instances too with Dylan and the Nebraska offense where they had chances to go win it. Right, there was so many 2-minute, 3-minute opportunities in tight ball games, and there was a lot of pocket trauma where either you held the ball too long or you had no time to hold the ball at all. And then things got a little bit better with Dana coming in, and now you're going to have a full season of him, and you're going to work through some things. You got a receiving core, a receiving coach. I mean, so I'm interested to see this year two of Raiola. What are you, I don't want to say expecting, but what are some areas you think with help around and coaching can be a normal thing for Dylan Raiola?
Yeah, I mean, if everything is normal on the field and the situations around him are normal, I'm looking for kind of just improvement in terms of steadily getting the ball out, at a decent time, not holding on to the ball too long. I'm looking for, like you mentioned, in those late game situations, in those clutch moments, more of what we saw early in the year, where he's calm, cool, and collected in those moments, pushing the ball, driving the ball downfield, taking the check downs. I'm just looking for more decisiveness, honestly, in terms of how he's delivering the ball across the field. When stuff breaks down, is he able to create? He's able to keep his eyes downfield. I think having better receivers around him will help that. Guys that know how to kind of work off script as well will help. And then in general, I think I'm just looking for him to push the ball downfield more. I think we lost some of that at times this year where, he is going underneath. He's not airing it out like, we kind of saw in high school. And so I do want to see more of that, more deep shots, more like chunk plays, more explosives in general, and him helping facilitate those explosives. But yeah, and you bring up the Mahomes thing. I wanted to get your take here too. Mm-hmm. There's differences in Mahomes and Raiola. Obviously we talk about physically they look similar. There's some similar playing style, but Mahomes, even year one, kind of recognized that he couldn't really read the field properly, and he was still learning how to diagnose coverages. That's not the case with Dylan. Like, Dylan already has all of that in because he's got an offensive line, a Pro Bowl offensive lineman for a father, and has kind of learned how to mentally read all of that.
It's been a prodigy, quite frankly.
Right. And so when you have the mental side, already further advanced than Mahomes was, from a physical standpoint, what is there for him to keep catching up on? Is it, just kind of some of that off-platform stuff when the play breaks down? Like, for me, physically, because I think mentally he's further along than Mahomes was in college. But it's the physical stuff that I think that's where he needs to improve upon. And is that becoming more flexible? Is it becoming just a faster reacting athlete? I don't know.
Well, good question. This is going to be fun to beat up a little bit. One, to me, the mental side, the knowledge where to go with the football, practicing, making the throws, like the investment's been there. He knows where to go, what to do. And it now is in the heat of the moment when they've seen film of you, and think of post Colorado, right? Illinois said, let's play man. And everybody else said, let's play man. And that wasn't all on Dylan, but you didn't have any man beaters, at least called, or personnel consistently. So there's that body language / response when you do turn it over. How are you as a leader on the sideline rallying the fellas after a bad series? Because it's going to be, Big Ten is going to be a back and forth situation, especially in November. I mean, November's winning time. And how do you flip it around to where it's going the other way, the right way, record-wise? If you're Nebraska, that's going to be a lot of your quarterback making plays, making checks, and getting a run game you can lean on, and then making the key throws when called upon. From a physical standpoint, I don't know what his playing weight needs to be, but whatever it needs to get to be quicker, because there's going to be moments where, listen, you need your quarterback run game on a scramble, or to pull a zone read fake twice a month even, okay? But just surprise the defense, make them think about it, and whatever it's going to take. From an arm strength standpoint, I don't know if it was injury or fatigue. Just getting hit as far as the throws downfield. They weren't there, they weren't attempted, or they weren't completed. I mean, early, first couple of games, he was great, 20 yards or more with his completion percentage. I mean, that's the lowest percentage of completion there is in football when you go throw that go route. I mean, it's a tough completion, but it really went away after week 2. Quite honestly. So to me, get in the gym, get
I think those quick twitch muscles, in my opinion, like just develop those quick twitch muscles.
Right. I mean, that's what I was trying to spit out. Yes. Yeah. Get quicker, right. Get leaner, and but stay away where your body can take some abuse too, because you're going to need to take some hits.
Oh yeah. For sure. And a good point on those deep throws too. I kind of, we've gotten far enough from the season. I kind of did you go back and look at this high school tape. Those deep throws were there consistently. They were not there consistently by the end of the year. And
you missed so many last year.
Right. And it didn't feel like it was like a lack of stepping into it, or it just felt like fatigue, injury, something, like there was just something affecting that accuracy consistently.
Yeah, Tim, I wanted to take a different route on this. I wanted to ask you a little bit about Terry Braden. He just saw maybe the best offensive line in pro football, and I don't think that's that much of a stretch to say with how talented and malleable those guys are. What do you think he's going to be able to take over to these guys at Nebraska, saying, hey, I just saw a Nebraska alum, Cam Jurgens, just give us work from the offensive side? What do you think he's going to be able to take over from that experience to bring these guys to Nebraska in terms of an NFL preparation standpoint? Like, hey, these are the guys you're going to see on Sundays.
Yeah, I think more than anything, it's just that experience factor, like Knighton had as well, of, hey, do this because it's proven effective. Like, hey, Williams and Winrar, here's how we unlocked Chris Jones as an edge rusher. Here's some tips here. Or here, Riley Van Poppel, here's how you consistently win from the inside. Here's how you take on 2 blocks and you can win. Here's how you get yourself in consistent position to get good leverage against elite offensive linemen. I think his experience is gonna be the biggest selling point here. Of just like, hey, I've done this with these guys, and to his credit, I mean, it's not like he just inherited Chris Jones. I mean, from his tenure at Kansas City, it's been Chris Jones' steady ascent. But behind the scenes and beyond that, you've seen the development of George Karlaftis. You've seen the development of Frank Clark in and out. You've seen the development of all these other guys on the line, young guys that he's drafted and helped develop into, rotational, good pass rushers. And I mean, we can talk about this from last night. I don't think the pass rush was an issue. Chiefs pass rush was not the issue. I felt like they did a good job against that line. I like Braden a lot, just getting to know him and so far just exchanging some texts with him. I'm really intrigued to see what he does with the room and who specifically he's in charge of. I thought an interesting note from Matt Rule from the press conference last week that I've been kind of stewing over is Brad's going to work with the interior D linemen, and then Philip Simpson's going to have the outside linebackers and essentially the edge rushers. So Williams and Ranieri, where does he fall in? I'm still figuring that out, and I don't know if we'll get a proper answer on that till the spring.
I do love, and this goes back to age showing, but Nebraska's teams had two dudes working on the line. You had McBride working on the interior. You had Tony Samuel on the edge. They were incredible together. You had Milt and Dan working on the inside and, of course, the offensive tackles. You had two guys. And even going back to the Politi years, you had Mr. Garrison. I always love saying that, like the old South Park. But you had John Garrison, who's now at Ole Miss, right? Working the offensive line along with Barney Cotton. So those multiple eyeballs to work with the different elements of the line, if you can spend it, do it, because you got to love. I mean, that there's no substitution for having those areas well coached on the interior and the edge. And if you've got a couple of really good coaches doing it, that's big. But I'm with you. I don't know where Neri is going to be. 2 minutes of overtime, Tim, and we will get you out. Is that good?
Perfect. Sounds great.
All right. That is Tim Verghese. Find his work, Steve Merrick as well, with Inside Nebraska and at Rivals.com. They got some good stuff going on YouTube as well as their daily coverage. A little bit more with Tim as we roll forward on the Super Bowl Monday. It's Hail Varsity.
Basketball Tuesday night. Omaha West Side is at Lincoln Southeast. I'm Jeff Moats. You can join me for the play-by-play. Coverage begins at 7:05 right here.
FM 101.5, 1240 AM, KFOR.
Hey, it's Hershey from Nebraska Outdoors and your Nebraska Game and Parks, here to remind you that time spent outdoors is time well spent. Each week we dive into fishing, hunting, wildlife, and the natural history with those that know it best. Join me every Thursday night at 6 p.m. for Nebraska Outdoors on KFOR.
Good afternoon from the 1011 Newsroom. I'm Cole Miller. Coming up, we're learning more about that homicide out in Seward and hearing from the woman's family. The man accused of carrying out this heinous crime had just bonded out of jail the day before. Plus, a new report is shedding light on evictions here in Nebraska. We'll break that down. And we're back in the western part of the state with the latest on those 2 train derailments. These stories and much more tonight.
If you're living with dry age-related macular degeneration or dry AMD, you may be at risk for developing geographic atrophy or GA. GA can be unpredictable and progress rapidly, leading to irreversible vision loss. Now there's something you can do to
slow it down, get it going slower.
Izervay is proven to slow GA progression.
Izervay gets GA going slower.
Izervay or avacincaptad pagel is a prescription eye injection used to treat GA. Don't take it if you have an infection or active swelling in or around your eye. Izervay can cause eye infection, retinal detachment, or increased risk of wet AMD. Izervay may temporarily increase eye pressure. Your vision may be impaired after an eye injection or exam. Don't delay. Ask your doctor about Izervay today.
Izervay gets GA going slower.
Visit Izervay.com. That's IZERVAY.com.
Millions of Americans take medicine like Ozempic and Zepbound. Many of them are overpaying by thousands of dollars a year. These GLP-1 medications for diabetes, weight loss, and more may not always be covered by your insurance, but GoodRx can help. GoodRx helps you save every month on prescriptions at over 70,000 pharmacies nationwide. Best of all, it's free to use. Check GoodRx to save on GLP-1s. Just go to GoodRx.com/GLP. That's GoodRx.com/GLP. GoodRx is not insurance, but can be used instead of insurance, including Medicare and other federal and state-funded programs.
Give the star in your life the brightest gift in the world. Name a star after them. This is Rocky Moselle with International Star Registry. For $59 and a call to 800-282-3333 or visit starregistry.com, you can name a star for birthdays, weddings, or even memorials.
And now, back to Hail Varsity Radio.
Some overtime. He is kind, and make sure the invoice is in the mail. Tim Verghese with us inside Nebraska. Rivals.com at Tim Verghese. Ed Foley is in the stream, says, hi, Chris. Look, I'm still here. Good to have Ed in. QB1A says, great interview, y'all, with the Rocco. It was good to catch up with Rocco on the Average Joe show. Sunday Live yesterday. Tim, I want to get your take on one of those new faces for Nebraska, and it's getting a little bit of buzz, but talk to me about Malcolm Simpson, his athleticism, and what you think he can bring to the table. You got 4 games, obviously, but is he a guy that may not may break that 4-game red shirt?
Yeah, I love Malcolm. He was a guy that down in Texas I got to see a couple of times, and just one of my favorite just prospects in that cycle. Just because you love you watch the basketball tape and you love the athleticism. I mean, like, again, 6'4", 260 plus pound defensive lineman, and he's like soaring above the rim. You know, like it's impressive. But he's a guy that, in my opinion, I wish he was enrolling early. I understand why he's not, just in terms of that getting onto the field. But he's a guy that I think you get him on campus. You initially start him on a defensive end, but he can blow up and play that defensive line. You go look at his high school tape, specifically his junior tape. At like 240 pounds, there's clips of him playing nose tackle and dominating. You know, like taking on 2 blocks and getting past it, pushing guys back. Ridiculous hand power. Just an elite mover. You know, he's got really good body control, super explosive. Has that like frame versatility you like in a 3-3-5 or like a 3-4 type front to kind of play all over the line. Yeah, I think he's a guy that plays at least 4 games this year, but I could see him having like a Keona Davis type year 1 impact in that, you know, he's in the rotation and it's hard for him to be off the field. I think, you know, if you're looking at this group in terms of long-term potential, I like Tyson Terry. I think he's a guy that comes in with a high floor and a solid ceiling. But I really love the ceiling of Malcolm Simpson and Cade Petrak, especially with 2-3 years of development. I think those 2 guys, obviously you want to keep them on campus. And I think, you know, Malcolm Simpson was a Terrence Knighton recruit, guy that loved Knighton. I think it's going to be tough to keep him around on campus. But if things go according to plan, I think 2-3 years from now, we're talking about those guys as 2 of the better defensive linemen in the program.
So you're going to ideally need Simpson to hit it off, perform, connect with Braden, but also Simpson, Phil, and then stay the hell away. Poachers, right? I mean, you just kind of laid that out there.
Yeah, essentially it's yeah. And so, like, I mean, again, you can't control anything past year 1, but the hope is at least for year 1, get those guys in and, you know, like, throw them in the weight room and get them as big as you can, or, you know, functionally as big as you can in year 1 and get them ready for fall camp. But I think both those guys, just because Cade, the adjustment's going to be adjusting to the level of comp. Malcolm Simpson's played up against Texas competition, elite offensive lineman down in Texas too. For him, it's just going to be the full commitment to football and understanding kind of his role and being willing to play within that role. Because again, being the guy at the high school level where you're playing both sides of the line and you're a dominant defensive lineman to being a rotational lineman is a tough thing to swallow for some guys.
Is that it's real? I know it's real, but the guys a lot of times get it like, bro, I'm not ready. I'll do what I'm asked, but I'm struggling at that. This ain't easy anymore.
Yeah, it very much depends on the personality. Sometimes you'll get guys that they'll come in, they're like, I just want to work, I want to earn my, like, I understand I have to earn it. And and I've noticed a part of this too. It depends on how the prospect develops too. There's guys that, come into high school as ninth graders and their coaching staff is already excited, like, oh man, we got him to come to campus. We got him at our high school. We're going to start him as a freshman. And those guys come to college and they're like, oh, I'm the big man on campus. I'm ready for this. Then you have guys that ninth grade year, they play JV or they play freshman. And then second year is like, when they have to earn it, they understand that the process starts over again. When you get to college, you have to earn it again. But for some guys, the ones that, either develop super early or are those like elite recruits super, super early on, there is sometimes a bit of an adjustment period when they come on campus and they think, oh, I'm the big man on campus. Sometimes it's Ryan Williams and sometimes it's Jeremiah Smith where, they arrive on campus and like, oh, I'm the best guy here. Like, it doesn't matter, But sometimes there is that adjustment needed of, oh, I'm not going to play as big of a role as I thought in year one.
And sometimes they get that they aren't ready. Practice is showing.
Right.
Last thought here, Shavers and Barney are two examples of guys that came in and you had Shavers really show out in the bowl game. You saw some really nice moments. Even I think he started against Purdue, if memory serves. And then Barney was a guy, he was your constant. He was your consistent dude at receiver, and you just found ways to get him the ball. Did their production match what you anticipated?
Yeah, I honestly, I will say Barney, no. I mean, I was pretty like that's pretty much what I expected. Honestly, surprised in the sense of how big of a role he played. On the flip side with Shavers, with some of the talk we had coming out of him with spring, I kind of expected a bigger impact early on, but I don't think you can complain about the freshman year you got from Vincent Shavers at all.
He played well, played absolutely well. Tim, we'll let you be. We'll holler next week. Appreciate you much.
Yes, sir. Sounds great. Appreciate y'all.
There he is, Tim Verghese. Find him with Inside Nebraska Rivals.com. Great stuff from Tim. Ronnie is in. Good to have Ronnie checking in and saying, hey, appreciate that. Tim is here. Tim, good to be with you. Black Hills, Brennan, come on down. Good to have Black Hills, Brennan in. Brian checks in. Mr. Snitley, Jeff Snitley, part of the Boulder Peace Treaty, is here as well. Good to have the Snitley boys. Justin, good to have you, dude. Thanks for making time. And you are invited to check out Hail Varsity YouTube, Hail Varsity Radio, Twitter, and check all that out. Jay Moore coming up next hour. Mr. Blackshirt, Charlie McBride. Let's squeeze in a little Fred Hoiberg if we can. And big win for the Big Red. That's 4 in a row. They're inching closer to 500 in conference. Let's do cut one here from Coach Hoiberg here on.
This is a tough.
Go for it. Yes.
This is a tough game to play. This first one back from the West Coast, especially when it's an early one. And I thought the loose balls were going in Ohio State's favor in that first half. And the biggest thing we talked about at halftime was the rebounding and taking care of the basketball. And I think we gave up 3 offensive rebounds and had 2 turnovers in the second half. And similar to what happened at Washington, our only turnover was when we let the shot clock run out on the last possession. So, I'd like to see it more consistent for 40 minutes. I thought, and listen, they're physical. They wore through screens. They deny the elbows. It's what they do. So for us to flip and take care of the basketball like we did in the second half, and then our guys, I thought, made a couple of really good plays. Connor gets the second chance point, the offensive rebound off 2 feet. Then Andrew Morgan may have made the play of the game, diving on the floor and then getting the layup on the back end of it. And, I thought our edge defensively, I know I talk about that and I use that word a lot, but our edge in the second half was where we needed it. And we did a good job of coming away with a lot of those 50-50 balls. And, I'm just proud of the guys for continuing to go out there and fight and battle. We're not doing it the same way every night. We got off to a hot start. Thought that last 10 minutes we were stagnant. Some of that had to do with Jawan's foul trouble. And he's so important to this team in what we do on both ends of the floor. And when he went out with that second, then Raleigh picked up his second, I just thought we got a little bit stagnant out there. But, you look at Bryce's, obviously what he's doing offensively, but his 10 rebounds, that's what makes me happy. And that's what gets me excited. As far as Burke, he's twisted it pretty good. So, we don't know exactly what it is yet. We'll reevaluate him in the morning. But, the early diagnosis. It's a pretty good sprain.
Is nerve damage in the arms, hands, legs, or feet.
What are the symptoms?
Symptoms can be numbness, burning, tingling, pain, or even loss of balance.
Is neuropathy treatable?
It's absolutely treatable, and we see amazing results.
If you have burning, tingling, numbness, coldness in your feet or hands, or balance issues, call Asuta Health today for a nerve damage screening. This screening will tell if you're at risk for serious complications and if you're a candidate for our cutting-edge treatment program. Don't wait until your symptoms are so severe nothing can be done. End-stage neuropathy leaves people confined to walkers, wheelchairs, even amputations. The first 10 callers will receive a free nerve damage screening. Simply call 402-745-3115. Act now. Call 402-745-3115 for your free nerve damage screening. Be among the first 10 callers and get this important screening for free. 402-745-3115.
On the battlefield, there's a saying America's military men and women live by. Never leave a fallen warrior behind. Ever. Off the battlefield, Wounded Warrior Project operates with the same goal. Wounded Warrior Project was created to help our men and women returning home with the scars of war, whether those scars are physical or mental. Wounded Warrior Project. We never leave a fallen warrior behind. Ever. Learn more about what we do at woundedwarriorproject.org.
Millions of Americans take medicine like Ozempic and Zepbound. Many of them are overpaying by thousands of dollars a year. These GLP-1 medications for diabetes, weight loss, and more may not always be covered by your insurance, but GoodRx can help. GoodRx helps you save every month on prescriptions at over 70,000 pharmacies nationwide. Best of all, it's free to use. Check GoodRx to save on GLP-1s. Just go to goodrx.com/GLP. That's goodrx.com/GLP. GoodRx is not insurance, but can be used instead of insurance, including Medicare and other federal and state-funded programs.
Hi, David Brooks here, president and founder of Retire Smart, inviting you to join me and Chip Maxwell every Saturday morning at 7 or Sunday mornings at 6 for the Retire Smart radio show. We'll provide you answers to your most pressing retirement questions and help you navigate ever uncertain financial times. Don't just retire, retire smart. That's Saturday mornings at 7 or Sunday mornings at 6.
Investment advisory services offered through Smart Wealth LLC, a registered investment advisor.
February is American Heart Month, the perfect time to focus on your health. Even a small change can make a big impact on your heart health. Try adding a vegetable to your dinner or a no-salt seasoning. Looking for support in making these small changes? Join a healthy living program to learn about healthy lifestyle changes with a supportive and encouraging group.
And now, back to Hail Varsity Radio.
10-minute warning here for Charlie McBride, Mr. Blackshirt, a Monday with Charlie coming up. Chris Schmidt, Justice Rhodey, Game Dog checks in. Good point here, and says if Shavers builds off the ending of the season, could be an impact linebacker next season. Big spring for him, and how Butler decides to utilize him. You've got Merritt, you've got Christian Jones. Of course, Shavers really looked and played the part as a guy who wasn't afraid and wasn't overwhelmed. That talent was evident and played super confident. Loved how he hit, loved how he tackled.
Yeah, he got downhill and he played with a viciousness in that
Big
Boston
time.
College game that just really popped off the tape for me when I went back and watched that bowl game just with my buddies. Like, we were just sitting there, we're eating food, and I'm like, dude, Shavers just flying around, just trying to knock guys' heads off. Like, the play I remember is when he came through the hole, they got Robichaux off of a slam play, and he's coming off the side, and Shavers just gets downhill, pops his head right down, and I'm like, that's a different level of physicality you don't really see in college football.
That's not your normal 19-year-old
No,
freshman.
not at all.
I mean, and I hate to go here, but it reminded me of just how physical Ray Lewis was that way as a freshman at Miami. Okay. I mean, he just was. Ray Lewis was different.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying Shavers is Ray Lewis. I don't want to go there. That ain't fair to anybody. That ain't fair to V9. That ain't fair to Ray. But I'm just saying the way he hit, and then that forced fumble from the force of the contact, that hit in the backfield. I mean, I thought he was going to go Debo taking that guy's bike, in the movie Friday, where he just took the ball and walked to the end zone. Let's squeeze in one more thought from Fred Hoiberg here, as Nebraska able to get it handled. 50-50 balls. This was key. Morgan was floor burning, and it led to a big spark.
Yeah, it's huge. And, Sam made one even on the offensive end where the ball was going out of bounds, and he, did the Dennis Rodman layout, tap it back in bounds to keep the possession alive. And, those are huge. Not only were there turnovers in the first half, but they were pick six turnovers. And, when you can get a shot on the board, you can get your transition defense in order and get set up. And, we had one mix up in transition, but, for the most part, I thought we did a solid job in the second half. And a big part of that was taking care of the basketball. And let me just go back to Burke for a minute. I mean, that was his best game in a Husker uniform. He's been great defensively for us, phenomenal. And you look from an analytics standpoint, he's as important as anybody defensively. But, a matter of time before he started hitting some shots, and I'm sick that, he may be out here for a little bit because of the way that he shot the basketball, 3 of 6, 15 points, continuing to rebound, battle in the post. So, we're playing the biggest front line, not great timing for us, biggest front line in the league with Queen and with Reese. In this next one, we may have to be ready to go a little big, with Andrew and with Braxton out there. These guys obviously are as talented as anybody, and they're playing great basketball right now. But, today was a huge win for us. This Ohio State team, I know we talked about it. They're hot. They won 4 or 5. Their only loss being at Illinois, where I think they're up 13 in the second half, and that includes a win at Purdue. So this is a huge win for our team, for our program, and we can't be satisfied. We got to keep building. We got to keep pushing, and got a big one coming up on Thursday.
Well, get the snowshoes out for Thursday night, but you had that 11-0 run, 5-minute stretch where you're down 48-44. You lead 55-48, 5 straight from Bryce, 24-10-4 for Bryce Williams. Coach McBride's on the way. It's Hail Varsity Hour 2 coming up.
In a divorce, it's important to have a partner you can count on. I'm Rick Julius, a partner at Cordell & Cordell, a domestic litigation and family law firm. We champion your rights as an individual and your role as a parent, taking an aggressive approach in court while leveling the legal playing field in domestic matters. That's what a champion does. That's what Cordell & Cordell can do for you. Visit us at CordellCordell.com.
Schedule an appointment with one of Cordell & Cordell's Lincoln area attorneys. 1221 N Street, Suite 801, Lincoln, Nebraska 68508.
I want to learn how to cook, but I keep ordering takeout.
I plan to rearrange my closet, but I stopped after picking the clothes up off the floor.
Accomplishing goals is hard, but when your goal is to learn a new language, Babbel makes it easy. In just 15 minutes a day, Babbel's award-winning language learning app will help you start speaking another language. Start having conversations in as little as 3 weeks.
Comment tu t'appelles? Comment tu t'appelles? Vous êtes où?
Vous êtes où?
Babbel's bite-sized lessons make it easy to learn words and phrases you'll actually use. So when someone asks,
"How's your French going?"
you can say,
Babbel est amusant et facilite grandement l'apprentissage d'une nouvelle langue. Et cela ne prend que 15 minutes par jour.
When you want to really learn another language, it starts with Babbel. Babbel, language for life. Celebrating 10 million subscriptions sold. Now try Babbel for free at Babbel.com. Just go to Babbel.com and start learning a new language today. That's Babbel.com. Babbel.com.
At Limitless Male, we started with a simple mission to help men feel like themselves again. For too long, men have been told their testosterone levels are normal despite ongoing symptoms. When you come to Limitless Male, we don't just look at numbers. We review your symptoms and draft a personalized treatment plan. Your doctor isn't wrong, but you may need higher testosterone levels to feel your best. We've helped countless men regain their vitality. Now it's your turn. Schedule your free consult at limitlessmale.com.
Lincoln's local news, talk, sports, and weather station. FM 101.5, 1240 AM, KFOR, and KFRX HD3, Lincoln.
From ABC News, I'm Michelle Franzen. In Boston, a U.S. district judge has temporarily blocked enforcement of a federal buyout offer by President Trump's government of efficiency. An order, he says, will remain in effect until he issues a ruling. It comes as Congress, the government branch that can appropriate funds, including any buyout offer, is facing a looming deadline. Here's ABC's Mary Alice Parks.
The federal government right now is only funded through March. We are careening towards a government shutdown if Congress doesn't pass another government funding package. And so that could be a big part of this case, too. The judge might say, look, you can't make these offers to federal employees in good faith because we could be facing a government shutdown already.
Elon Musk's government efficiency office now targeting the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau that fights fraud and abuse by corporations. Democrats held rallies outside the agency today, warning Americans that the firewall of protections are on the chopping block. Senator Elizabeth Warren, who helped create the watchdog agency after the banking scandal, blasted the cuts.
Are you ready to fight the billionaires who are trying to take over this country?
As fragile ceasefire talks are underway for phase 2 in Gaza, President Trump, in an interview with Fox News' Brett Baier, doubling down on plans for the U.S. to take over Gaza for redevelopment.
In the meantime, I would own this. Think of it as a real estate development for the future. It would be a beautiful piece of land.
Would the Palestinians have the right to return?
No, they wouldn't, because they're going to have much better housing, much better. In other words, I'm talking about building a permanent place for them.
Arab states have rejected the plan to resettle Palestinians. Super Bowl champions, the Philadelphia Eagles, will finish the week just how they started it, celebrating their win against the Kansas City Chiefs last night. The victory parade set for Friday in the city of brotherly love. You're listening to ABC News.
If you're living with dry age-related macular degeneration or dry AMD, you may be at risk for developing geographic atrophy or GA. GA can be unpredictable and progress rapidly, leading to irreversible vision loss. Now there's something you can do to
slow it down, get it going slower.
Izervay is proven to slow GA progression.
Izervay gets GA going slower.
Izervay or avacincaptad pagel is a prescription eye injection used to treat GA. Don't take it if you have an infection or active swelling in or around your eye. Izervay can cause eye infection, retinal detachment, or increased risk of wet AMD. Izervay may temporarily increase eye pressure. Your vision may be impaired after an eye injection or exam. Don't delay. Ask your doctor about Izervay today.
Izervay gets GA going slower.
Visit Izervay.com. That's IZERVAY.com.
The latest in a homicide case. I'm Jeff Moats, KFOR News. Seward Police and the Nebraska State Patrol are investigating a deadly shooting that happened at a home near 2nd and Lincoln just before midnight Saturday night. That's where investigators arrived and found a man later identified as 54-year-old Casey Kent leaving the house and suffering from what appeared to be a self-inflicted gunshot wound. Inside the home, investigators found 36-year-old Jamie Hagan, who was deceased. NSP believes Kent got into the home, shot Hagan several times, and then himself. You can read the latest on this story at KFORnow.com. No one was hurt when a fire started in the kitchen and got up in the attic of a house this morning west of 33rd and W Streets.
Was cooking on the stove and thought he had the fire pretty much out, but thought it might be have extended up the wall into the attic space.
LFR Public Information Officer MJ Learman says the fire was found in some attic space. Firefighters got a quick handle on it. The exact cause of the fire remains under investigation. A gray 2014 Hyundai Sonata is missing after an unknown man took it from two people at gunpoint, apparently, early Sunday morning from outside a home near 14th and Court. Lincoln Police Public Information Manager Erica Thomas says the suspect is described as a 30 to 40-year-old man wearing a black hat and a black neck gaiter.
Approached the driver's side door, making the motion of a gun pointing at the victims.
Thomas says the two victims got out of the vehicle and the suspect got in and drove off. The vehicle has a black scuff mark on the back bumper with the Nebraska license plates of ALS 851. Saying he's appreciative of President Trump cracking down on the government spending with work being done by DOGE, Nebraska 1st District Republican Congressman Mike Flood told reporters on Sunday he was assured by the Treasury Secretary that Elon Musk has no access to controlled spending. He has read-only.
I think that's very important to point out. This is functionally a government-wide audit. Only government employees have access to the Treasury systems.
Flood says that DOGE has already found out that the U.S. Treasury payment approval officers were instructed to always approve payments to known fraudulent or terrorist groups. Tonight, mostly cloudy, a 40% chance of snow and a low of 8 above. I'm Jeff Moats, KFOR News.
These are today's top headlines.
Trump wants to level 25% tariffs on imported aluminum and steel. A third federal judge blocked Trump's order to end birthright citizenship. A winter storm is on the way with potential significant snowfall Tuesday night into Wednesday.
Don't miss a thing. Stay connected for whatever's next.
News that affects you. On air and on demand, 24/7. FM 101.5, 1240 AM, KFOR.
Keep up with the local news, sports, your favorite talk shows, and pro shows on KFOR wherever you roam. Stream us 24/7 at KFORnow.com or on your mobile. You can download the free iHeart or TuneIn app and stream KFOR on the go.
The following is a paid program. Content is provided by Hurrdat Media and may contain pre-recorded material.
This is Christian Peter. I'm sorry, but the stories I have about Charlie are not appropriate for the public.
The right case of the Mondays. It's Mr. Blackshirt, Charlie McBride, on Hail Varsity Radio.
Thanks for spending time into hour 2. It is Super Bowl Monday. So we recap the big one in the Big Easy last night. Mr. Blackshirt is with us, a Monday with Charlie. Coach Charlie McBride, we've got your Ask Charlie questions in as well. Coach, thanks for taking time. How are you doing?
No, I'm doing good. I'm just sitting here watching guys fish and ice fishing, and doesn't look like they're doing too much.
No, well, better them than you or me out there freezing.
Oh, they're crazy. I don't know. Did you watch the whole thing?
I did, and I'll be honest, I was disgusted, frustrated, not because I was pulling for one team over the other, but it was such I don't like blowouts. You know, I wanted drama. I wanted all the stuff that drives you guys nuts as coaches. I mean, you want to see a beatdown / blowout in on that stage. I mean, it's an awesome exclamation point, but from a casual fan watching, it was they just teed off on him, Coach. You had to smile with that defensive line.
Oh, Jesus. I don't know. I'll tell you what, and you can't tell anybody because they're going to go recruit a wide receiver. You know what I mean? And I tell you, the quarterback is a good example as last night. When you don't have any linemen, you can have the greatest quarterback in the world, and he looks nothing like mashed potatoes. Mm-hmm. You know, and he didn't look so hot, right, when he got some pressure on him. And that's, that happens to everybody. It doesn't only happen to him. I mean, it happens to Brady when they put pressure on him. He was he's throwing all over the place. And, I just, when I see two having trouble getting offensive linemen, hell, we got guys from Palmyra. You know where that is, don't you? Right?
I do. It rhymes. Yeah, it rhymes with Elvira, the song.
Yeah, they were first-round draft choices. And you got to coach them and you got to teach them. Mm-hmm. And if you think they're going to come in as pros or something like that, you got your head caught in your, you know what? Because it makes me sick to see, because that's the first thing I remember Coach Osborne saying to us, how many guys do we need? Let's start with offensive linemen. Huh? And Mill would always say 8. George would say 4. And I'd say we're lucky if we get 3. And we'd end up with 4, and Mill would end up with 8. And then the rest of them is what we can, and I said, Tom, we run first, pass second, or we pass second, run first. It's then, what are we doing this year? You make him mad, but he'd say, just get me a guy that can move, that can run with the football, and we'll teach him how to throw it.
Uh-huh. No, I bet. Charlie McBride's with us a Monday with Charlie. You nailed it. I mean, it's not a very difficult opinion, but it is fact. You build around the offense and defensive line play, you're going to win football games.
That's right. And that's where you start. And it's just like starting with a catcher. and then a pitcher, and then a center fielder, and you got it. Okay, and that's
up the middle.
and it's you can't hide those guys. You know what I mean? But so you better get some good ones. And I say, and it kind of makes me upset a little bit as they talk about the quarterback till it gets so boring that you have to turn it off.
Mm-hmm.
And they ought to talk to a couple offensive linemen and defensive linemen or some of those guys and get people to know them and find out what they're thinking, because they're the guys going to win the game.
You are absolutely right. What'd you think of the old journey for Cam Jurgens?
Well, I did. He's been kind of alternating, so I didn't know whether he was hurt. I think he missed a game.
He missed the first half of the NFC title game, but stuck it out in the second half. But his transformation from tight end to center at Nebraska, and then the job he's done in the NFL.
Well, that's no different, than what we've done. I mean, with some of the kids never played the position, never played offensive line, never played defensive line. You got to teach them, and you have to have a period where you can do it. And I know the first part of my coaching career was tell them how important defensive line was. And he that's kind of the last place everybody used to think about.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know why it was that way. I said, if you get some good defensive linemen and offensive linemen, you ain't got to lose. I'll promise you. And if you don't do that, those wide receivers are a dime a dozen.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and there's a million kids that can catch the football, and some you don't know about. We had a kid named Smith when I first went there, and he was a good athlete, real good. Except the thing is he led our team in receiving too, and he led our team in about every category, punt returns, everything else. And he was just a regular kid that, I don't know, he came out of the cornfield, and that, and if you give them a chance and teach them and go get them, and just, if their head's right, it's a mind game.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody understands. It's a game that comes from your heart, and you play with that. That's where you're good. I mean, if you could have seen Jason Peter when he was sick and we played, I think it was Virginia Tech.
Mm-hmm.
He's talking the average of their defensive line then was 300. He weighed 260 because he lost some weight. He was throwing them around like rag dolls, and but. He knew what he was doing. He ended up, I think he scored in that game. He picked up a fumble and
didn't have his helmet on either when he got it. Charlie.
But, everything works out good when your head's in the right place and you're playing and you're all playing together. I mean, that's when it's fun.
Coach, I got a question from Game Dog here in the stream. And he says you've had he's talking about the Eagles, right? And the defensive line depth that the Philadelphia Eagles have. They just send waves and waves and waves at you. You used to have some pretty deep lines. I think of the guys you had stacked with the Wistroms and Ruckers and right. And of course, how did you keep all the guys happy? All that talent, but not everybody was playing all the time.
That's easy, because the kids playing third and fourth team. When we scrimmaged, we used to have 4s against 4s and 3s against 3s. While one's playing 2s and 2s playing 1s.
Right.
And I used to go down there and watch them. And in group work, when we had group work, I put them right in the rotation, the same as they got all the same snaps, and as the year goes on, they got more of the snaps because I'm trying to keep the guys alive that were, doing all the playing.
Right.
So, but, they always got a couple of shots, about 15. That's a couple, isn't it?
Yeah, I bet.
And the rest of them got 30. Mm-hmm. So, but that's those kids. They're going to when they're scout team guys, they're going to go play against as good offensive line as they're going to see in football, in the Big Ten, or the Big 12 or the Big 8 or wherever you're playing. But they're good linemen you have, and if you have good linemen, and your defensive linemen are playing every day, and the offensive line are playing against the defensive line, so on and so forth. And you use the techniques and you work on the things we used to really, really harp on it. And I used to look at the film and go over it with the kids when I had time. We could do it. And, sometimes I had them come in early Saturday morning and stuff like that. And we'd look at the film and look at that week's practice, the ones we could get a hold of. And so it was a constant build up, but it was fun. That was, that's how you in other words, I used to tell people I coach for depth, period. That's what I coach. I don't coach for the first team or the second team. I coach for all the kids, all of them. And that's, and I got to know them better, and I got to know what turned them on, what turned them off, what every aspect of the things you had to know. I used to tell the kids, look it, and this is a little crude, but when they were running over the bags, okay, let's just say I'm using that as a simple example.
Right.
Every time their foot goes over and they're stepping on the guy they're playing's face.
Okay.
Okay. And you better think about it. You got to work harder than they do. Don't, and so if you're just going to run over and, coach said run over and then he's talking to somebody or doing something. No, I wanted to know where their eyes were. I wanted to know where they were running, what they were doing. They want to know the hows and the whys. And that's it. If they know why they're doing it or how they're doing it or what, those are the things you have to teach. And, then you can start from there. And, but it takes, you can't let anything go by you. You can't let them stand around and, pick their nose and do that while you're working with the first and second team. They got to do something. So anyway, that's what we did. I get upset. I just, sometimes I go to some practices, even around here. I go watch the kids and they spend 15 minutes on defense and they spend 2 hours on offense.
No, I get it. Charlie McBride's with us here, Hail Varsity Radio. Coach, I wanted to get your take on got a couple of minutes here. The pressure of the three-peat.
The pressure of the three linemen?
No, the three-peat. The Chiefs were going for 3 in a row. You guys went for 3 in a row.
Oh, yeah. Well, 3 is hard. Anytime you beat the team 2 times in a row, boy, you better get ready on the third one because they're sick and tired of that. And so right now, and I know right now whose mind was in the right place for sure. Now they could have been ready to play Kansas City, but again, subconsciously, and I'm telling you, it's in the head. Is subconsciously they're not in it, and like Florida, we're better athletes. That's what they're saying. They are. They're better athletes. They're better, but they aren't disciplined, and they're not working as hard as we are, and they're not doing the things that need to be done to win that football game. They think they're just going to walk out there, roll their helmet on the field, and that's the end of it. Now, I don't think that the Kansas City Chiefs thought they were going to roll their helmets on the field, but I do think one thing. You tell me who won the game. You tell me what position won the game. Both the lines, both offensive lines won. That's what won the game for them. And they intimidated both sides of the ball, the Kansas City Chiefs.
Mm-hmm. They drilled them.
Yeah.
Walked all over.
Yeah. If you don't have linemen, you can go jump in the river.
No, I get it.
Okay.
Absolutely get it. Now, before we get you out, how many wings did you have last night?
What?
How many chicken wings did you have last night?
I didn't have any. I had pork chops.
Oh,
well, we went to some friend's house and we had dinner before, and it was kind of fancy dinner. I'm not used to that.
Well, no. Was it bone-in pork chops? I mean, were they the thick Husker cuts?
Yeah, they were good. They were, yeah.
Okay.
They weren't as big. They weren't an inch and a half, but they were an inch.
Well, but you're not going to complain. I mean, I get it. They weren't an inch and a half, but no, I get it. Well, good enough. Well,
it was great though.
Do you just go salt and pepper on them, or do you have like a marinade or a rub?
No, they put some stuff on. They put cheese, some kind of cheese cake, and they put it in the oven and cooked them that way. They cooked them, with stuff over the top of them. And I never had them like that before, but they didn't keep me from eating them.
No, I get it. That's good.
And then it was always, do you want second? And you got to kind of keep your mouth shut for a little bit until, so you wait to the end and then say, I think I will have one of those.
You know what? I'm going to help out. You don't need leftovers. I like it. Coach, we'll holler at you next Monday and get rolling as winter conditioning gets underway, okay?
Okay. So, are they getting ready to go?
They're getting ready.
Good. That's good. Okay. Well, thanks for having me, and I'll let you guys take care of yourselves during the week. I'm going to be sitting here freezing my, off.
So will we. We're getting snow and cold, so we'll get the heater turned on.
Okay. Okay. I'll see you next week.
See you, Coach. Appreciate you.
Okay.
I'm Tom Roper with Roper & Sons, and we invite you to join us for a free estate planning workshop on Tuesday, March 4th at 6 p.m. at our South Lincoln Chapel. Attorney Andrew Loudon will guide you through important documents like wills, trusts, and powers of attorney. A complimentary dinner will be served, and your questions will be answered. Call Roper & Sons or visit roperandsons.com to make a reservation.
Millions of Americans take medicine like Ozempic and Zepbound. Many of them are overpaying by thousands of dollars a year. These GLP-1 medications for diabetes, weight loss, and more may not always be covered by your insurance, but GoodRx can help. GoodRx helps you save every month on prescriptions at over 70,000 pharmacies nationwide. Best of all, it's free to use. Check GoodRx to save on GLP-1s. Just go to GoodRx.com/GLP. That's GoodRx.com/GLP. GoodRx is not insurance, but can be used instead of insurance, including Medicare and other federal and state-funded programs.
Oh no, stomach issues again?
Stomach issues? Who are you? Your pancreas. I could be the real reason for your diarrhea, gas, bloating, stomach pain, or loose oily stools.
I thought it was my stomach.
People often do, but any of these symptoms could mean having a condition called exocrine pancreatic insufficiency, or EPI. With EPI, the pancreas doesn't release enough enzymes to break down food, but EPI is manageable. Use the symptom checker on identifyepi.com and speak with your doctor. That's identifyepi.com. Sponsored by AbbVie.
On the battlefield, there's a saying America's military men and women live by. Never leave a fallen warrior behind, ever. Off the battlefield, Wounded Warrior Project operates with the same goal. Wounded Warrior Project was created to help our men and women returning home with the scars of war, whether those scars are physical or mental. Wounded Warrior Project. We never leave a fallen warrior behind. Ever. Learn more about what we do at woundedwarriorproject.org.
Accomplishing goals is hard, but when your goal is to learn a new language, Babbel makes it easy. Babbel is designed with you in mind. From expert-created lessons to conversational video units and even live classes, you can personalize your Babbel experience to be exactly what you need to really learn a new language more easily. Go ahead, set a goal for yourself.
All-State, 2-year starter, and rush in for the Big Red, an NFL vet.
Is Dudeness or Duder or El Duderino if you're not into the whole brevity thing.
It's Blackshirt Jay Moore with Hail Varsity Radio.
Back into the Blackshirt Hour marches forward. Jay Moore with his Blackshirt Husker NFLer at Jay Moore 44 on Twitter. You find him on Big Red Wrap Up. No Eagles green today for Jay Moore, but that was a performance, Jay Bird, that had to make any and every defensive lineman proud.
Yeah, that was a fantastic performance by the Eagles defense. Rarely did they have to blitz. I mean, they were getting home with 4 guys really consistently, and that's how you defend really any offense in football, and especially in NFL, and one that has a once-in-a-lifetime type quarterback in Patrick Mahomes is, listen, if you can sit back there with 7-8 guys in coverage, that's hard to beat. I mean, I don't care what kind of talent you have at tight end, at wide receiver, at running back. When the opposing D-line's getting home with 3 or 4 guys, it's going to be a long day. And that's exactly what the Chiefs saw, is that front 4 of the Eagles, who have a lot of talent that they've gotten from the SEC and Georgia in particular, created havoc all game. And Patrick was running for his life, just made some poor decisions. And that's what happens when you get flustered and the pocket collapses around you. You start making some poor decisions. And he had some interceptions, still made some some great throws, but it just was a little too late. I thought, we discussed last week, I thought Eagles were the more talented team. But again, you just don't know how it's going to shake out when it's the Super Bowl. And this is obviously the Chiefs, and they're going for 3 in a row. And when they have Patrick Mahomes back there, I think anything's possible. But that talent that the Eagles have on both sides of the ball just was too much. And there's just way too much to overcome. And it kind of represented – I know the game was a little different a few years ago when Tampa Bay beat Kansas City, but it reminded me a little bit of that just because the Chiefs' O-line was beat up at that time, and Tampa Bay was able to get home successfully without blitzing. But this seemed to be on those same type of scenarios, and happy for Philly. Obviously, a few Nebraska guys on the Eagles team, so always happy when Nebraska guys add a ring to their finger. And the Eagles are a fantastic NFL team, and it's just it is what it is for the Chiefs, right? I know they're going for their 3 in a row, but we'll have to see if they I don't know if anybody will ever get to 3 in a row. That's a tough task.
Jay Moore's with us here, Hail Varsity Radio. Jay, let's focus in on the Nebraska flavor. Really enjoyed covering Nick Gates, and I know he's survived and battled, especially after that gruesome injury, to stay in the league now with Philly. Cam Jurgens, and we go back, I think you were with me Monday through Friday when we were talking to Cam on signing day, the svelte 245-pound version of Cam, the 4.5, 5-star tight end out of Beatrice/Pickrell. And that conversation, man, we had, and it would kind of raise some eyebrows about manufacturing, right? And you turn a tight end into a center. The only other guy we knew that did that successfully at a high level was Rick Kaczynski at Notre Dame, from tight end, quarterback to tight end to center. But Juergens is an all-pro. He replaced a Hall of Famer. None of it easy. And we saw the struggles early in his career at Nebraska, but man, some people were right with this move, and he was incredible. He was athletic. It was fun on some of the quarterback counters to see him get out on search and destroy missions. I know you might frown upon that as a defensive lineman, but he is so vital to how different and effective this Philly 1-2 punch running game is.
Yeah, it is. Both him and Gates have been really, really good. I know Gates predominantly played offensive tackle while he was here at Lincoln, but he is a guy that can play all three positions now, and I'm talking guard, center, and tackle. And you can do that. You'll play in the league a long time. They'll keep you around because you can play multiple positions. And I know Nick didn't get a chance to suit up because Graham was pulled off the IR. So he was, still in the active. He's on the sidelines, but wasn't dressed. But Cam is just first and foremost, just a fantastic athlete. And his ability to step in there just in a couple years and replace Kelsey, like you said, is a Hall of Fame talent. It's really just there's no difference, right? They're absolutely able to do what Jason was able to do so well, and then Cam just stepped in there and it's just rinse and repeat. I know Cam's been beat up this year, and they didn't even know if he's going to play in the NC title game, and he fought through it and battled, and he's just a tough kid. But the fact is, his athletic ability, you can't. That's not coachable. It's just God. It's just God given. It's just God given talent that he has, and for him to get out there and pull and get in the second level and just play with that athleticism. He's one of the few guys who do it. Quentin Nelson with the Colts is really, really good at it. It's hard to do. And if you get a center that can do it as well, those guys can, you're going to play for a long time. But it's winning the Super Bowl so hard, and being in that league for a few years and understanding how important that is to everybody. It's on a pedestal, right? And some people don't ever get a chance to try to get on top of that pedestal and win that trophy. For Cam to do it so early in his career with a really, really good franchise, I mean, there should be no reason why, barring any crazy injuries, and I don't know what the free agency looks like for them, they should not be in this, in the same scenario again next year in 2025 and the 2026 season.
Jay Moore's with us here, Hail Varsity Radio, Black Shirt Husker, NFLer, part of the Black Shirt Hour. Jay, it was the common football theme that we see that Philly maximized to a T. They got after the quarterback and Patrick Mahomes with only 4 guys, sometimes 3, and they protected the quarterback. We talked about the outstanding offensive line that they have. When you looked at just the complete performance from Philly, start to finish, what did you take away from them? How impressed are you that they were able to dominate the boundaries, even, when Saquon had a slow day by his standards?
Yeah, it was. That's another, the circumstances that I liked from the Phillies up, or for Philly, not the Phillies, but for Philly, the Eagles. Obviously, they did stop Saquon. That was their one deal, but that's about the only thing they could do successfully because between Dotson and Brown and Devontae Smith, I don't think Goddard was utilized as much as some people might have thought, but. And it hurts his legs and his ability to scramble and using him in the run game as well, because Cam can get into second levels and pull is, if you thought, where could they go, right? If Saquon was there able to shut them down, they did. They just they utilized those weapons they had on the edge. And not surprised. I thought, Spagnuolo is such a good defensive coordinator, and I always said you give them 2 weeks to prepare. They're tough to beat, but his ability to, he stopped the run. That's what you want to do as a defensive coordinator. You have to do that. But there was just too many weapons that Philly had, and they're able to utilize. Dotson, that was kind of the third wheel, right? AJ Brown and Devontae Smith, and you probably knew of Goddard before of Dotson, but that guy was there all night, quick, shifty. Got the touchdown. Or got the almost a touchdown. It was called a touchdown first, and then the tush push came after that. But just too many weapons, too many weapons, and it was just a matter of time. Philly has been playing so well throughout the playoffs. I heard the score differential, the point differential of them in the playoffs. I can't remember it, but it was a lot to a little. And again, the final score was a lot to the little last night. But yeah, that was a buzzsaw. They're running on all cylinders right now, and it was fun to watch and see if they can keep going. There's some young players now, and within that organization, this could be, I don't know if it's the next dynasty or whatever it is. If they can kind of mimic what the Chiefs done, but I don't ever want to put that kind of pressure or say that it's a possibility. But with the young talent they have on that team, this could be tell you what, the NFC East could be really fun to watch here with a lot of the young players. Obviously, with the Commanders stepping up, Cowboys getting the new staff, and the Giants see what happens this offseason as well. But that Philly and Washington battles year in, year out, going to from, I don't know, next 6-7 years could be a lot of fun in the NFC East.
Jay Moore's with us. Jay, last thought on the Super Bowl. What's next for Kansas City?
Well, they got to kind of figure out what's, a lot of their staples are going to do. What's Travis Kelce going to do? What's Andy Reid going to do? If Andy Reid wants to shut it down, which he's been doing this a long time, and I'm sure he wants to try to coach more, but I don't know what else he has left to prove. Everybody wants to go out on top, but it's such a hard thing to do. And it's pretty easy to do when you have like I said, you have Patrick Mahomes back there. But again, you got to try to see how you bolster up your offensive line. You got to try to be able to run the football a little better and more consistently. That's just going to help that offense. Patrick can only do so much, but the Pacheco and Hunt, that was a little inconsistent. But I know Pacheco was kind of beat up all year. But they got to kind of figure out where they're going to go offensively with the run game, with the offensive line. There's still some talent. Worthy's there, Schuster. So they got talent on the wide receiver spots, but you got to get better at the offensive line position. Defensively, still tons of talent there. Some of the guys are getting a little older. Chris Jones, still a really good player. Spagnuolo, a fantastic, DC. They're not that far. They'll be supremely in the mix again next year, if not hosting another AFC Championship game. Wouldn't be surprised at that at all. But ideally, this is an offensive league, and you have the best quarterback, if one of the best quarterbacks in this league, and in the AFC, which is a heavily talented division. You got to look to where you struggled at, and that's offensive line, and you got to improve there, and just see how you can mix and match some pieces, and see what Kelsey's going to do, and see what Andy Reid's going to do, and if he's going to decide to retire, who steps in there. But I'm sure they'll have those discussions here in a matter of a few weeks. I'm pretty sure free agency gets started in March, so not a lot of time to sit back and lick your wounds. You kind of got to get back to work and see how you can improve and try to get back there again, for the fourth straight year.
It's Jay Moore with us, Hail Varsity Radio. More with Blackshirt Husker NFLer Jay Moore. Use your seatbelt. It saves lives, prevents injuries only if properly worn. Make it click. This message from the NDOT, Highway Safety Office. More with Blackshirt Jay on the way.
Coverage begins at 7:05 right here.
FM 101.5, 1240 AM, KFOR.
Are you just as confused as I am about low T remedies? There's so much nonsense. Order here, call here, text this number. How would you know who is best? The experts at Limitless Mail are the best. It's what they do. It's all they do. They would never throw a bottle of pills at you and say, try this. Limitless Mail monitors your symptoms and levels and makes adjustments so you feel your absolute best. Trust the experts. Schedule your free consult at limitlessmail.com.
If you're considering a career in broadcasting, Alpha Media Lincoln and the Nebraska Broadcasters Association Foundation can help you become part of this exciting field. 3 $2,000 scholarships are available to four-year college and university students who will have completed 30 credits as of May 31st, 2025. Let us help you reach your career goals. For more information, go to ne-ba.org. Application deadline is March 1st, 2025.
The best thing about Nebraska winters is planning for the spring. Hi, this is Chris Goforth. Join me and the experts from Earl May every Saturday morning for In the Garden as we help you prepare for the upcoming spring season. In the Garden, Saturday mornings at 8:30 right here on KFOR.
Jackson Hewitt makes taxes feel like a yacht rock song.
Please, give me my biggest tax refund, please. You, me, and a lifetime accuracy guarantee.
And now get $100 just to try Jackson Hewitt. Does your tax person do that?
Say goodbye to that no guarantee tax guy.
Ready to sail through tax season? Go to Jackson Hewitt and you'll be
the refund.
Limited time offer for new clients. Participating locations only. Terms at jacksonhewitt.com.
This statement has not been evaluated by the FDA. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease.
When it comes to my lifestyle and diet, I don't always make the smartest choices.
Touchdown! Woo! Hey, how about another round and some more chips?
But when it comes to taking care of my liver, I do make one very smart choice. Active liver tablets from New Nordic. I used to have real issues with my liver. And at my last checkup, my doc was concerned about my numbers. But since adding a once-a-day active liver tablet, my gut's better, I feel great, and my doctor's happy. I ask a lot of my liver, so the least I can do to say thanks is a daily dose of active liver.
You ask a lot of your liver, so give it the support it needs with Active Liver. You can find Active Liver at Amazon.com, or for a volume discount, visit NewNordicUSA.com. Go to New.
And now, back to Hail Varsity Radio.
Jay Moore with this Big Red wrap-up at Jay Moore 44, Black Shirt Husker NFLer. I think KC's probably got one or two more in him. They've evolved constantly from the outscore you to the balanced offense where they were able to run it heavily. And I'm thinking of the Clyde year. To being a defensive football team this year with an offense that did just enough in 12 one-score game wins, come from behind wins, but they were a shadow. People either caught up with them or they weren't as dominant. I'm not knocking the fact that they've made it to the Super Bowl, but they just got out-muscled, quite frankly, on the lines of scrimmage. It still comes down to getting after the quarterback, stopping the run. KC didn't really even try and establish the run because you blinked and it was, you were down 17 rip, and then being able to run the football. So that's some things I know that they know and they'll look at. I want to spend a minute here on Husker basketball, 4 in a row for Nebraska. They are making folks have a little bit of amnesia about the 6-game losing streak because they're kind of back to that winning formula, and it's Bryce in winning time, it's free throws in winning time, it's grittiness, it's rebounds, and they're hot right now, but they may be good, not just hot. And we'll see how much I jinx them right now for Thursday night. But moving forward, it's a manageable schedule, but it's time to take notice of what Fred has done in February, but this team, are you back with more of a certainty that you're going to get a Nebraska team that finds a way, specifically at home? Is that SC and Rutgers thing just in the past now for you?
Yeah, it's tough. I with that win last week against Illinois, that helped. Obviously, if they'd lost that one in OT, that I think that West Coast road trip probably looked maybe a little different. Going forward, got to kind of see how Burke's ankle injury is going to be. I think they're still operational without him, but he does provide another big body, pretty good rebounder.
He's been playing better.
What's that? He's gotten better. Yeah, his offensive skill he needs to be more consistent, but he has gotten better. The game at Washington probably was his best game he's had since he's been on campus. But going forward, you get these next 7 games. You got Maryland on Thursday, road games, Northwestern, Penn State, then you get Michigan back at home again. So they're tough teams you got to play. Maryland and Michigan being the 2 ranked teams. You get them at home. I know they still got to go on the road to Ohio State again. What do you get? I know Iowa's the last game. And I'm missing them. What's that?
Minnesota at home.
There you go, Minnesota. So ideally, I said these 8 games, going to 6-2 would be fantastic. I don't even know anymore because that was correct me if I'm wrong, that was their 6th quad 1 win against Ohio State yesterday. So 6-7 now in the Big Ten. Ideally, you want to get themselves in a position where you get to the Big Ten tournament, and if you don't get a win, because the Big Ten is just brutal. It's such a grinder this year. It's so hard that you want to be able to you want to comfortably have yourself in position to get an at-large bid, no matter what your performance is in the Big Ten tournament. But ideally, finishing these next, counting last night, going 6-2 would be really, really good. I always, even with Northwestern being banged up and Penn State being down, those places, those two. When was the last time Nebraska went in there and won at Northwestern and Evanston and in Happy Valley? I mean, they never play well there. That always concerns me, even though they are down this year.
They don't do well there. Some of their better teams haven't won there. Some of their forgettable years, the early Fred era's first 3 years, have won there. So I don't know what the hell to tell you.
but overall, it's vastly improved, and it just comes down to Bryce getting to the hoop. It comes to Jawan being more aggressive. Connor stepping in there and making some nice, hitting the threes when you need to hit the threes, playing tough defense. It really just come down to Jawan and Bryce playing well, and then those other pieces just have to do things at certain times. You can't rely on Worcester and Connor and Mia and Hoiberg and all those other guys to step up and get you double-digit points. It's those two guys have to be really, really good. Then hopefully some of those other guys I mentioned have to be good enough, first and foremost defensively, but then they can step in and provide some points. Worcester hit that big 3 to put them up by 5 late in the second half.
The shot.
Yeah, right. But they just, the Mia steps in there and, was 3 for 3 from the free throw line yesterday. I mean, that was, raise your hand if you had that predicted. I mean, no one did. You like the momentum they got. Fred's been really good in February. You got to try to close this thing out strong enough. I don't want to get to the point where, you got to go just try to snag a couple wins in the Big Ten tournament, but you have to, so be it. But it's just, they're trending in the right directions, and ideally get this winning on Thursday night. You finish, these next 4, I don't want to say it's going to seal the deal, but I tell you what, that'd be hard to keep them out if they win these next 4 games.
Jay, wanted to ask you really quickly, 90 seconds here. What do you make of the job that Fred Hoiberg's done? They're able to turn around this 6-game losing streak into a 4-game winning streak. They win a lot of the tougher games left on their schedule, looking at it on paper. Can you just kind of surmise your thoughts on what kind of a turnaround job Fred Hoiberg, Nate Lenzer, and the staff has done?
Yeah, I mean, it was looking bleak there for a little bit, in the end of January, in that January stretch, we're losing 6 in a row. It just didn't seem like themselves. Defensively, they weren't good. Offensively, it just was people just trying to do too much. It just comes down to playing better defense. The defense gets you in a better offensive position. A lot of more transition buckets where this team is tough in transition between Jawan and Bryce getting to the hoop. A lot of guys can, I think Worcester leading those transition points are really, really good. But those key pieces just got to, like I said previously, just got to keep going. I forget, Andrew Morgan and his ability to come off the bench and provide a spark at the 4 spot or 5 spot is key. But the ability, the talents has obviously been there. They got a little soft. And they just weren't very tough. And something happened to Iowa City in that second half. When they lost that lead, it took a lot out of them. And then you lose those 2 games at home that you easily could have won, and easily could have beat Maryland on the road as well. But there's, then you go to Purdue and get whooped. So, I think it just started defensively, and that's where it always needs to start. And you watch that Illinois game, it just looked crisper. The energy was better. The effort was just a little better. And it's just funny how you just improve in those areas with effort, energy, and defense. Your offense is better, and you're able to get over that hump, that proverbial hump, and the lull in the season. But like I said, the Big Ten's tough. That stretch they had, the road games at Iowa, at Purdue, Rutgers is a really good team. USC is tough. You're going to lose some. You're going to lose some ball games in the Big Ten, but just learning how to win, do it the right way, playing with toughness, playing with physicality, playing with defense, and get to the hoop. Don't rely on a three-pointer. Just go to the rack. Such a good free throw shooting team that you can win a lot of games making some free throws, and they just got to keep that mentality and don't let their foot up on the gas at all right now. There's no time to take a breath. Let's just got to keep it going, keep that pedal down, and close out February strong.
Jay Moore with us. Big Red wrap up at Jay Moore 44, Black Shirt Husker NFLer. Jay Bird will holler next week. Get ready for some winter conditioning / not us, but Nebraska football and some spring ball as well. Appreciate the time as always, dude.
Yep, you got it, guys.
Tevye the Milkman believes in tradition while the whole world changes around him in this Broadway classic. The amazing score includes If I Were a Rich Man, Matchmaker, and Sunrise Sunset. Fiddler on the Roof is sponsored by Russ's Market, Kepke Electric, 1011 Cares, and KFOR. For tickets, LincolnPlayhouse.com. Lincoln Community Playhouse, a Lincoln theater tradition since 1946.
It's called the 340B Hospital Markup Program. Hospitals mark up discounted drugs and pocket the difference, charging patients $5,000 for cancer drugs they bought for $500 and suing patients that can't pay. It's how big tax-exempt hospitals abuse the 340B program. If patients aren't benefiting, where's the money going? Learn more at 340bmarkup.org. Paid for by Pharma.
Men, are you ready for Valentine's Day? Don't get caught unprepared. Head to STEM Gallery. Show your sweetheart how much you care. They've got it all, from roses to exotic flowers and plants from around the world. Plus, STEM Gallery's gift shop is fully stocked with cards, candy, candles, and all the romantic extras, including Jellycat plush. Don't wait. Get ahead of the game this Valentine's Day. Order your flowers online at thestemgallery.com or stop by STEM Gallery at 5630 P Street. STEM Gallery makes Valentine's Day easy.
This is Officer Abley with the Lincoln Police Department. Nothing's better than getting into a warm car. If you don't have a remote starter, please stay with your car, even if you forgot something in the house. If you don't, it just might go on a joyride without you, and so will your kid's school project, sports equipment, or your briefcase, or worse, your wallet or purse. So what will it be? 5 minutes sitting in a chilly car, or 5 days waiting for the police to find it? Don't leave it. You could lose it.
On the battlefield, there's a saying America's military men and women live by. Never leave a fallen warrior behind, ever. Off the battlefield, Wounded Warrior Project operates with the same goal. Wounded Warrior Project was created to help our men and women returning home with the scars of war, whether those scars are physical or mental. Wounded Warrior Project. We never leave a fallen warrior behind, ever. Learn more about what we do at woundedwarriorproject.org.
Uh-oh, Brad's buzzed.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, he's starting with the woots. And now a speech.
I just want to say that friendship is about heart and brain. Who's with me?
Good thing is, he knows when he's buzzed.
And my brain is saying, when it's time to go home, somebody call me a ride.
Love that guy.
Me too.
Know your buzzed warning signs?
And now, back to Hail Varsity Radio.
One final time on a Monday, your Super Bowl Monday. Plenty of thoughts on Philly, KC, and Nebraska basketball. Big thanks to Charlie McBride, Jay Moore this hour, and Tim Verghese talking some Big Red football with us in hour one, Spotify, iTunes, Google Play for the podcast. When you search Hail Varsity Radio, Hail Varsity YouTube. Quick shout out for the weekend show we did on the Average Joe Sports Show YouTube. Go there, like and subscribe that if you want. We sat down with Rocco Spindler, so good to hear from Rocco and take a few minutes of his time. We appreciate him for that, so check that interview out. Dear friend, former partner, Nick Handley, going to be with us tomorrow. He's part of Big Red Baseball. Him and David Gustafson worked with both for a number of years. And Nick, going to join us, and we'll kind of preview Big Red Baseball as their weekend is slammed Friday through Monday as Husker Baseball gets after it. Mitch Sherman going to join us tomorrow. And then Michael Bruntz with Husker 24/7 Sports. So loaded up for you tomorrow. Let's sneak in a little bit more. Fred Hoiberg, cut 4 here. Late game playmaking. That's been the rebounding, defense, grittiness, but also Bryce and this team when it comes to winning time.
You know, early on, we had some games that were really tight that we ended up pulling away from. I know they weren't 1 or 2 possession games, but, you know, I give our guys credit for their execution to pull away, you know, at the end of some close games early in the season. And, you know, Indiana was a close game down the stretch, but we pulled away and ended up winning, I think, 14. Oregon State was a tight one. And, you know, we executed well down the stretch. But yeah, I mean, obviously we found a guy that's got it going right now. And he's, you know, Bryce isn't being a pig out there. He's not going out and shooting the ball every time. He's making the right play. He's getting in the pocket. He's making the shake pass. He hit Sam on an exit where he curled it and got fouled, and we scored there. He's just making the right play. And, you know, he's playing, you know, arguably as well as anybody. Well, hell, he got the award for the best player in the country last week. So, you know, but he's doing it without being selfish, and he's just making winning plays.
Absolutely. The other Dave chimes in. Anyone see my Super Bowl ad? Didn't know I was related to Dave Beckham and Matt Damon. I'll say this. Captain says Nick Handley threw the first touchdown in Millard West football. That's true. And you ever hear Crouch get in there on Handley? It's hilarious. Where we were talking with Crouch one time. Crouch like, well, you know, your passes had so much, as he put it, touch on them. You had so much touch on your passes. He didn't throw very hard.
There's a nice little balloon through the
I'm
air.
gonna ask him about that. Remember the time Crouch just dunked on you? Like, well, yeah. I'm just kidding. Saint Nick, going to be good to chat with him. So we'll bring that up tomorrow, Captain, when we talk with Nick. So pretty cool. But when it comes to Super Bowl commercials, my cousin, he has passed on, but Chuck Bennett was his name, and Chuck was awesome, just a great dude. But he was a commercial artist, and it was his idea, his intellectual property in his commercial of the Yo Quiero Taco Bell.
Oh, really?
And then the Nissan with the dogs.
Oh, yeah.
He did that. He did that as well. We won't mention that he found Jared from Subway. That was also his campaign. We'll talk tomorrow.